Okay, our next speaker here, we need to click a slide here to get us ready. You have the clicker? Okay, all right, we're good, okay. Our next speaker is not only one of our speakers, but also has served a role as one of our coaches. And she's one of our colleagues at the ACS in Washington. It's Samora John Smith, and so she has been working extra hard, not only for herself, but for the others. So we're very excited to have her. So welcome to the stage, Samora John Smith.
For the land of the free and the home of the brave. Thank you. Now, I know this isn't The Voice, and it certainly isn't America's Got Talent. But music is where I find my greatest comfort. I found that to be true today, just as I did in the summer of 1991, when my name was the last name called to be one of the dancers who would become an NBA cheerleader for the New Jersey Nets. Yes! Wow! I was shocked. So shocked I couldn't move. I stood there shaking and they called my name again and I couldn't move. I heard the cheerleaders who had already been selected screaming my name and yelling, "Samora, Samora, Samora, you made it, come on, you made it." And I couldn't move. Finally, a group of cheerleaders dashed out in my direction, extended their hands, and pulled me out center court to join them. I knew then it was on. It was real. I was an NBA cheerleader. I can still remember that night, standing near center court in Meadowlands, thinking about my grandma, thinking about my mama, saying, if they can just see me now. Here I was, this young girl from a small city in southwest Georgia. But now, I'm standing here with professional dancers and choreographers, some of the greatest entertainers in the world, NBA executives, and of course, rich ballers. Rich ballers. Now, if some of you would dare to take that walk with me down memory lane, I'm looking at the demographics, I know we have some of you here, you will remember Derek Coleman was playing his best game. And on the other side of the world, you have Michael Jordan and those Chicago Bulls. And they ruled everywhere they went. They took over every basketball court. And there was also hysteria, panic in the air, great anticipation about the arrival of what we knew as the Shaq attack. Now, I'm going to be honest. I was no Paula Abdul, but I was an NBA cheerleader just like she was. My name was on the same list, just like hers. I had an official NBA card, just like she did, and a paycheck, just like she did. Now, not as many digits. But I was still getting paid, and I was excited about that. All of a sudden, I had family members I didn't even know I had. I had a group of friends I still can't remember their names. And I said to myself, everyone loves me now. They had to, right? Quickly I found out the love they had nothing to do with Samora John. It was all about the free NBA tickets they thought they would get. And the possibility of perhaps running into a celebrity. This was a good day for me. Amazing times. Here I was. I made a dream come true. a very triumphant time, yet that moment was covered in turmoil. You see, oftentimes when I would share the story of how I became an NBA cheerleader, some people would respond, "Really? That's how you became a cheerleader? Really?" The more people would respond in that way, not everyone, but some, it made me feel unworthy of the honor. I started doubting myself. I started believing I couldn't measure up. This fear overwhelmed me. It carried me back to my childhood days, the core of the real fear that I had. You see, when I was 5 years old, I heard an adult call me a bastard child. Now, of course, I was too young to really know what that meant, so I knew it had to be something ugly. I sat around the house long enough to listen and to learn what I was. I was an illegitimate child. I had no true identity. I had no real name because I didn't have a daddy around. And that made me sad, silent, withdrawn. One day I got up the nerve to ask my mama if I can call the man I was told was my daddy. And she allowed me to. I talked to him, and you can imagine as a little girl, I was so excited. Here I was talking to my daddy. It was the happiest day of my life. He told me all about his new family, and he promised he would take me to Disney World with them. Well, that day came. My mom dressed me up, packed my overnight bag, and there I was, running out to the front porch, excited because I'm waiting for my daddy to pick me up. The day went on, and the day went on. Eventually, the day ended. And here I was, a 5-year-old, sitting on a porch, still waiting for my daddy to come. My daddy never came. It was the worst day of my life. If my daddy didn't love me, who would? If I wasn't good enough for my daddy, I would never be good enough. I thought it ruined my life. That's how I felt. I was nobody. I was nothing. But one day, a 5th grade teacher told me I could be anything I wanted to be if I worked hard. And I did just that, and I went on to junior high school, and I met another phenomenal teacher who happened to be a dance instructor. She knew my family, and she knew I couldn't afford formal dance lessons. So one day she said, "Mika," you know, we had all those kind of nicknames down south, "Mika, you stay after school." And I did. Now, I thought I was in trouble. I'd never been asked to stay after school. Little did I know, I wasn't in trouble. She wanted me to stay after school because she wanted to extend a helping hand to me. She offered to teach me the basics of dance. I learned ballet, I learned jazz, I learned African rhythms, and I learned creative dance. Became pretty good at it. Now I was on my journey to becoming an overachiever. I made the National Junior Honor Society, received 3 gold medals in music, won several pageants, wore several crowns. I was the first one in my family to ever receive a college degree. And now I am standing here in the middle of the Meadowlands as an NBA cheerleader. Yet, I was still sad. I had fear. I will never forget, at the beginning of the season, I wasn't selected to dance for the basketball games. Why? I flopped. During practice, I just couldn't get the moves down. I would mess up the choreography every time, and I would not be chosen to dance. One day, I ran out of practice crying, and another cheerleader ran behind me, and she grabbed me and put her arms around me and said, "Samora, what's going wrong?" Here I was, this energetic young lady with this huge voice. Now, was afraid. I shared my story with her. And I said, do you think I was picked because I was a great dancer or because I'm a great singer? Her response was, child, please. The NBA did not hire you to sing. They pay you to dance. Now, if you don't start dancing, you won't have an NBA or a paycheck. That was a rude awakening for me, an eye-opener, I would say, because it reminded me that more than 500 young ladies wanted to be in my position. And on that final night of auditions, we knew only 18 of us would make it. 17 names had already been called. Here I was, me and 2 other young ladies, sitting on the court just waiting, wondering whose name would be called last. Oh, the competition was very tight that night. So the judges decided they would do something unique. They had to do something to take the edge off. One of the directors stood up and said, you 3, you, what else do you have? One young lady stood up and she did a triple turn and a toe touch, and it was wonderful, but not me. I stood up and I gave the longest and strongest note to the tune of Who's Loving You by Michael Jackson. The next thing I know, the announcer was up and he called my name. Wow. Now remember, I told you music was my comfort zone. All the time, I feared I wasn't good enough. But it was the fear of not making the team that led me to start singing. I was in my comfort zone. My name was called and there was no turning back. I had moved beyond my fear that night, and I didn't even know it. So I went back into that practice session, and I gave a few moves, and I did my thing. Next thing you know, I was dancing at the games. They selected me because I was a great dancer, and I had something additional to offer to the ball club. Not only did I dance in the games, I was also invited to do promotionals for the Giant Stadium, and Nobody Beats the Wiz. I know some of you remember that. So now I was making more money off the court than I was making on the court. And I was happy. All because I learned to move beyond my fear. Life wasn't over for me, guys. Over the years, I've had other moments where I've allowed fear to take control of me personally and professionally. So much so, I ended up in the hospital. I was in a very dark place. Even wanted to just give up on life. But I took an opportunity to think back. And I thought how fortunate it was for me to have the wonderful experiences I had. How great it was to have achieved many of my goals. More importantly, I thought about 2 beautiful girls, my daughters, DeJean and Demi. And I thought about what they expected of me. And I picked myself up, and I remembered how to move beyond that fear. I'm good enough. Not because of what anyone else thinks about me. I'm good enough because of what I think about myself. It taught me 2 very powerful lessons. The first being that when you're standing in fear, don't stand still. Because it's only when you stand still that fear can surround you and trap you. When you're standing in fear, you got to start moving. You got to start moving. When you move and take actions, you are able to make dreams come true. You are able to make things happen. Second thing I learned, doesn't matter how talented you are, doesn't matter how smart you are, if you don't believe in you, no one else will. Yes, I'm good enough, and I can make dreams come true. You know how I know? Last year, 2006, I stood on a stage as one of the semifinalists of the World Championship of Public Speaking. A dream come true. You see, my story isn't over yet. Still being written. And I'm determined to keep moving beyond my fear, because out of all the achievements I've accomplished in my life, I stand here today before you knowing that my best is yet to come. Thank you.